Hey up guys, so we're going to get into this live training in a minute, but before we do that I've got a challenge for you. What I want you to do, I want you to plan a webinar and then 2 minutes before you start the webinar have a big spoonful of nut butter, right, and just see how you go, because for about 3 minutes there I couldn't actually speak because I was trying to rush this peanut butter. Right, okay, so let me know if you're here, say hi, say hello, let me know if you can hear or everything that I'm saying, and then tell me what's on the screen, okay? So we can kind of, and once we're up and running, or once we know that we've got sound, you can see the screen, then we're going to crack on, all right? I'm going to put both of us on, that's it. So I've got the screen and a picture of me in the office. So as soon as we start getting a bit of that, then we'll go for it. I know, as always, there's about 11 or 12 second delay on everything that I do, so we'll give it a bit of time, let people catch up, and then we'll go for it. In the meantime, I'll just mute the microphone whilst I drink my tea. Okay, so we've got sound, we can see what we need to see on the screen. 2 minutes, I'm going to try and drag someone in. Ash, come say hello. I'll try and drag someone in for you to have a look at, say hello to. So, just a minute. Say hello. There you go. So, I'll tell you who's on there so you can say hello to him. Brian, he's on there. Brian, I don't know if you've been to camp, have you? Have you been to camp? I don't know. Who else we got on here? We've got... Christine, you know Christine?
Yeah, I know Blew It.
Anyone else? Chloe, remember Chloe?
Yeah.
Monica?
Yeah.
So if you know Ash, oh my god, hi Ash, there you go, Chloe's saying hi.
Hello.
Ash just hanging around for this evening. He's not doing this webinar, but he's around and I just thought you might want to see him, say hello. Any words of wisdom from Ash?
Just listen to Craig.
Brilliant. Right mate, cheers. Okay, we're going to get into this little webinar now, and what we're going to be, basically, I'll talk about whatever you want us to talk about. I've got a couple of things that I want to talk about. Let me just shut the door. Okay, a couple of things that have been prompted by a couple of questions and comments in the Facebook group. Okay, but other than that, if you've got questions, if there's friction in what you're doing right now, that's what this session is about. It's about getting rid of that friction and getting you moving forward. Okay, because remember from our initial days of the Rut-Buster training that we're going through right now, the most motivating factor in everything we're trying to do is progress. Okay, being able to see progress, even if it's just perceived progress, like we're not actually making any progress, but we feel like we are, or people are telling us we're making progress or whatever. All that is incredibly motivating. And when I do some of my training sessions at boot camp, okay, I will look for little bits of progress in the session so that I can kind of point that out to people because I know just how motivating that is. All right, so a couple of people saying, hi, he's gone now to get a shower and that after a day's training, but basically I'll pass that on. But Ash doing very well. So one of the things that was prompted this week was somebody said, okay, my daily declaration today is to reduce the amount of diet soda. Okay, and then a question that came back was, why are diet sodas bad? Okay, now, one of the first things that I want to kind of teach you, I've lost my map, just a minute. You like this? This is my little mat. Paula, Hart, Craig. It's my little mat. Mat for my tea. So one of the things that I want to teach you straight away, in fact, I'm just going to bring up this little sketch map here, this little sketch pad, is I want you to remember that there is no good food or bad food. Okay, when we start to class good food as bad food, it kind of makes it binary and your mind switches off. All right, it's like saying I can't run. If somebody says I can't run, you stop looking for the evidence that you can run. Okay, the minute you say this food is good, food is bad, you switch off trying to actually think about it in the right manner. But then also, when someone then says, okay, like eggs, for example, for a long time we were scared of eggs. Now we know that eggs are incredibly important. It's because somebody pitched them as bad because of the potential diseases and cholesterol and all that kind of stuff. And no one really stopped to really think about it, and we classed it as bad. Now we're saying it's good, and what that does is it causes bits of frustration as people try and catch up with what the current thought is. Okay, but when you accept that food is neither good nor bad, okay, that means that every time you look at food, you are curious about it. You're willing to give it a chance, and what you really want to focus on is the context of the food. Okay, so if you're kind of getting this, then let me know. Hi, Kath, how you doing? Just watching from the Philippines. You've got to be the furthest person ever to watch one of these. I don't know if I've had someone from Australia before, but anyway, hi, good to see you. So that's kind of one of the first things that I want to teach you is that there is no good, there is no bad. It's all about the context. The best way to show this is think about Lucozade. Right, so Lucozade, absolutely laced with sugar, like you would not believe. My son Danny drinks it, and I'm just like, oh, you don't need to be drinking 2 litres of that at a time, and it boils my blood. Now, that's in that context, 2 litres of Lucozade, just walking down the road, not really doing much. Wrong context. Okay, no benefit from that. If you're in mile 26 of a marathon, or maybe mile 47 of an ultra, Lucozade is exactly what you need. You see what I mean? It's about the context of the food. Let's take another one. In fact, you tell me a food that you're so kind of confused about, and let's look at the context. Let's frame it and look at the context in regards to, when it should be used, therefore, when is it good, when is it bad? All right, because it's only the context that can be good or bad. So I'll wait for a couple of them to come through whilst I think of another example. So another example might be, in fact, let's just get straight on with it. Another example is diet soda. Okay, now I've got 2 lines here, but on this sort of thing. But I'm just gonna draw it out. Let's say, okay, this is your. Hang on a minute. Let's say this is your progress here. This line here. Okay, hopefully you can see that. Let's say, and each one of these is a little step, okay, towards being healthier, fitter, and all that kind of stuff. So getting off full fat varieties of soda, or any drinks for that matter, is a great first step, all right? However, later on, you're going to have to do something different in order to lose more weight. Therefore, we've kind of got to let go of soda. So in the context of, at the minute I'm eating whatever I want, whenever I want, however I want, then diet soda is a good choice. Fast forward, and let's say you're 6 months into losing weight, you've lost a couple of stone, you've cleaned out a lot of the real obvious problem foods in your diet, okay? Now diet soda is the wrong context. Okay, so hopefully that kind of makes sense with this idea of the context of stuff. Okay, so and we're going to talk about why in a minute. Okay, but I just want you to get this context idea first of all. All right, so tell me what you think to that. I don't know if anyone's come up with a smoothie. Okay, Bryony. So here we go. Smoothie. The problem that we've got with smoothies is that if you don't put fruit in it or dairy, let's face it, they taste like shit. They are pretty rank. If you've ever had like a kale, and vegetable smoothie, they are grim. And fair play if you can get it down your neck, because they're hard graft. So therefore, to improve the taste, they've got to be quite fruit based, usually bananas and things like that. Now the issue with that is that any kind. I'm going to sneeze here. If I'm going to sneeze, I'll hang on. Excuse me. Fruit, as we'll see in a minute when I start talking through this stuff, really, really, laced with sugar, all right? And because of that, especially the type of sugar which is in fruit, fructose, is handled in the body completely different. So what in effect you're doing is you're getting a massive hit of sugar. Okay, so in that context, if you're trying to lose weight, there's a couple of reasons why it's the wrong context. Okay, let's say you broke your jaw and you needed to get some vitamins and minerals in and some energy because you literally cannot move your mouth to eat proper food. Then a smoothie is a great idea. Okay, let's say that you're on the go and you're not actually looking to manage weight. Okay, but you want to be eating more nutrients and that kind of stuff. Then smoothie's the right context. Okay, if you're using it to lose weight, if you're trying to manage weight, it's the wrong context because the sugars inside the smoothie are going to dramatically spike your insulin. And again, I'm going to talk to you about this insulin and all that kind of stuff in a minute. As well as that, liquid foods, regardless of what is in the liquid food, have a tendency to spike insulin more than solid foods. And the other thing is that if you speak to anybody that's absolutely hammered a nutrition plan, a diet plan like Lighter Life, there are so many problems associated to those kind of things where it's a liquid diet full stop, because we were designed to eat solid foods. We were designed to process food through digestion. Now, one of the big issues with foods nowadays is that so much of the digestion just takes place outside the body. Okay, before, if you think about it, when we was cavemen, cavewomen would scratch around, would find something that's in its pretty original state, okay, and then we'd snaffle it, okay, and then our teeth would need to chew it up. We'd mix it with saliva, rip it to small bits that we could actually swallow. It's down into the stomach. The acid gets amongst it and starts to break it all down. The stomach's going like this, moving it around, making it into a mulch. It goes down into the intestines, and the intestines are constantly messing around with it. We throw some bile salts in there and other bits and bobs, bit more fluid, and constantly moving up, and then we're starting to extract all the nutrients. Okay, so that's what would happen. And before we started eating cooked foods, our intestines were even bigger. They were massive. In fact, our intestines would use more calories than our brain back in the day. And then we started to eat cooked meats, which meant that our intestines could shrink because we didn't have to do as much digestion. A lot of it took place outside the body. We take it from a raw state. Think about a steak, for example. To chew on a raw steak, chew it and then to swallow it and deal with that. It's much easier to eat something that's been cooked and prepared, and we put some sauce on there which will help you swallow it easier and all this kind of stuff. You kind of see what I'm saying? So if you've brought your jaw, smoothie, brilliant. Okay, if you're trying to manage your weight, wrong context. All right. The other thing is that if you're drinking smoothies, not only are you going to get a massive insulin spike, but you're not going to feel full as long. Okay. Now, whenever we talk about sort of losing weight and managing weight, one of the biggest things that people will say I really struggle with is hunger, or the perception of hunger. So if we're drinking smoothies and liquid-based foods, it doesn't sit in the stomach very long. Okay. And actually, when we talk about messages in the body, one of the messages in the body that we get is that when we have food in our stomach, the pressure on the outside walls tells us that there's food in there, and that starts to switch off some of the signals that we should go and find food and eat. And it also, there's other stuff as well. Why would we go through releasing digestive enzymes if there's nothing inside the stomach? And quite often we can drink these smoothies and those messages are not triggered. Okay, so all sorts of different problems there. Now, what I'm saying, Brian, is that a smoothie every now and again, if you've got a busy lifestyle, if you have been eating beige foods all your life, heavily processed, refined foods, and you want to get some nutrients in there, and they're just quick and easy, and you moderate the amount of fruit you put in there, great. To do smoothies every morning, wrong context. Okay, so that's kind of the idea. Hopefully that answers your question. We did a bit of a thing there. Why did you stop the soup being blended at camp? Yeah, but part of that, it was part of the fact that those liquid foods just, they just go through the tracks so quick that we feel hungrier, we're spiking insulin, we can't really see what's in there. And if I had my way, we'd have a much more of a raw diet, but that's not as palatable for all, for everybody. So that's one of the reasons why we stopped sort of blending the soup there. But we work really hard to control insulin, and any little hack that we can do to reduce the amount of insulin spiked, then we will do it, okay? Because it's really, really important. What are you laughing at, Bryony? I don't understand what you're laughing at there. Let me know. That makes a lot of sense, Craig. Forgive you for not blending this. Yeah, I know. And we, in honesty, humans are lazy. We're lazy creatures. We'll always take the path of least resistance. If we have got, some big soup that we've got to chew, and the meat's tough, and all this kind of stuff, and the vegetables are quite tight, and we've got to chew it, and we've got to chew it 36 times before we even try to swallow it, or we've got to mash it up with our fork or whatever, or you've got something that you can literally just sip and almost drink, we're going to opt for that. We want these foods where we don't have to mess around with it much, okay? But that's not how the body wants to move. So, it wants to work, okay? It's designed to have solid foods going through the machine, I'm trying to think of like a bit of an analogy, really. There's got to be one of like, having like a finely tuned machine. It's like having a muck spreader is designed to, big chunks of bloody cow muck and all that kind of stuff. But if you put a lot of water in there, it's just going to flail around and not really throw it out like a muck spreader's meant to do. So I'll think of some other way of explaining it. But that's kind of, hopefully you kind of get that. The other thing is that we fool ourselves into thinking that we're taking in all these nutrients, and we can often overdose on stuff. All right. So for example, you can have too much iron. Too much iron is a huge problem in today's society. There's a book called Fat for Fuel. I don't know if I've got it on my shelf up there. No, I don't think I have. Fat for Fuel by Dr. Mercola, and he talks a lot about like excessive iron inside the blood, and it's a huge marker for cancer. Because we find it quite hard to get rid of iron, yet we consume loads of iron. Okay, in fact, females tend to have a little bit less iron because of the menstrual cycle. The kind of, they're actually bloodletting themselves every month just by natural cycles. Men don't have that. But both men and women in today's lifestyles have an increased amount of iron, and the health implications there are really, really high. So, that's that. What's it? Yes, free helps. Craig, lovely metaphor. Thanks, Connor. Wood chipping. Yeah, exactly that. It's like a wood chipper. You're throwing your big branches in that. If you're just chucking leaves in there, you're not making any wood chippings. But anyway, it seems like you've kind of got the idea. And we was talking about smoothies. All right. So we're going to kind of move on. Why? And before, what I want you to do, I want you to park the idea that, why do we question drinking diet drinks? And when I'm talking about like diet drinks, also think low-fat food, anything with sweeteners in. So you can have low-fat, no added sugar. You could have reduced calorie food. Anything that's got like artificial sweeteners. That's what we've got the big problem with, is the artificial sweetener. Okay, and kind of I just want to paint a picture. Now I know I would have gone through this with some of you before, but it's really good revision to kind of go through it again. Okay. By the way, if you've got questions for later on, about 10 minutes time, start lining them up now. You can put them in the little comment box there. All right, so let me kind of explain to you how I was eating when I was a chubster, okay, and see if it kind of reminds anyone. What I've got two lines here, okay. This top line, I want you to imagine that it's a point in the body where insulin, sufficient insulin is triggered because there will always be a little bit of insulin triggered, regardless of what you eat and sometimes what you do. Okay, but it's a point in which the level of insulin is so high that the body sends out a message saying, right, any excess energy, I want you to store it as body fat. Okay, how can I put this into a bit of a story? It's imagine that we've got like a cigarette smouldering in an ashtray in the house. Okay, you can't even imagine that nowadays, can you, with the old smoking ban and all that kind of stuff? But let's say that, you know, this is happening, and there's a little bit of smoke, but the smoke alarm hasn't triggered because there's not enough smoke yet. Okay, and let's say the cigarette drops out of the ashtray onto the table and it starts to smoulder on the tablecloth a little bit. Okay, now there's a couple of little embers and more smoke, but there's still not enough to trigger. Okay, and then there's a point in which the tablecloth really starts to burn and it's kicking out loads of smoke. Therefore, the level is kind of up here, and then the fire alarm triggers. Okay, that build of the signals, the strength of the signals is very much like the insulin in the body. So there'll always be a little bit of insulin, you know, and it'll be hovering and pivoting, but then at some point the switch flicks and the body goes, right, from this point on now, for the next hour, 2 hours, whatever, any excess energy that we've got, I want you to get hold of it, I want you to convert it to body fat, and I want you to store it. Okay, and so if you get that, say yes, got it, whatever, give me a tick, high five, thumb, whatever you want to do. Okay, and then tell me which food group do you think triggers that insulin the most. Okay, so again, about 12-second delay, but tell me what you think. Whilst we're doing that, I'm actually thinking of using a different software for doing these webinars that will make that there's no delay, or there's very little delay. The problem is it won't be, you'd have to register for every webinar, and therefore it would be private. I'd be able to do the replays, but you won't be able to sit on Facebook like this and watch it. Okay, so a bit of a nose there, but okay, I've had a couple of thumbs up. Not had any answers yet, so we'll see if we get any answers, and then we'll kind of crack it. Yep, got it. Monica's got it. Good. Anyone else? Carbohydrates. Yes, Monica's saying carbohydrates, which is exactly right. Now, every form of carbohydrate, doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's green leafy veg or table sugar, the body uses it as sugar. Okay. The only thing that's different is that the form of sugar and the intensity of that spike. Okay. So whenever we consume carbohydrates, what we get is we get a big spike. Let me get my pencil back. There we go. We get a big spike in our insulin like that. All right. So fats has a very little effect on insulin, which is one of the reasons why fat is our friend, you know, and as well as that, fat has got so much use in the human body. Now protein is very much like the smoke analogy, that you can eat a certain amount of protein, and it's pretty sedate. It doesn't really have much of an effect. But then there is a tipping point where you can have too much protein. Okay, so when people start to think about a low carbohydrate diet, they usually think, right, okay, that means high protein. And this is one of the problems that the Atkins diet had, is that the Atkins, he emphasized low carbohydrate, and people interpreted that as high protein. But actually what he was trying to do, and wouldn't do it because of the current thinking behind nutrition, all that kind of stuff, was, and the government guidelines and all that, is high fat, right, or higher fat. So it kind of got misunderstood, right, and there was all sorts of problems there where they started to link it with a problem that diabetics can have, where they have an excess of protein and it affects the kidneys. Now, Atkins done right, you're not going to have that. But people were fecking about with it and getting it wrong. Let me just open a window because it's really hot. Okay, so what we're taking from that is carbohydrates going to have a massive spiking effect on insulin. So does protein at a certain level. Okay, so we've got to moderate protein, and fats we're pretty good with. It will have an effect on insulin. Okay, but it's much less profound. All right, so same again. Yep, Chloe's getting it. If this is all good, you kind of understand it, then fine, let's run with it. Okay, so or let me know. So what will happen then is once we've had a big spike, we then get a big dip. Now this bottom line, what this bottom line represents, this is something that I want to illustrate a point. Okay, it's not really. I don't want you to sort of think that this is actually a biological thing that goes on. This does. The insulin threshold is, it is a biological thing. This is something that we will all have experienced before, is that once we've had a big spike, we then get a big drop, and then we can enter what we call the crash zone. And this area down here is the point where our blood sugar is so low that we just think, oh God, if I don't get some food now, I'm going to bloody kick off and, bury my head in popcorn or whatever. Okay, let me know if you've experienced that. Or, you're ready to kick the fridge door open and bury your face in whatever's in there. Okay, so this is like the crash zone. It's a point in which the idea of making a smart food choice is really high, because you feel famished. Your blood sugar, you're just like, no energy, right? And actually you become really erratic. You can become really emotional. I've seen it on some of the endurance events that I do, where people fuel themselves on sugars, and because it's like spike, dip, spike, dip, spike, dip. 1 minute they've got they're like, well, this is amazing. Next minute they're like, they're crying their eyes out, and it's just, they go through the day like that. When you feel yourself on fats, you kind of go through the day like this, where you don't have those spikes and dips and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, more on fat later. We're talking about insulin. So what do we got? Have we got any comments? I don't know what I've just done with my screen there. There we go. So tell me what we've got. Yes, I get that feeling, and it's horrid. It is horrid, Brandy. And whenever we do like calorie counting is a classic. Hands up if you've done some calorie counting in the past. I'm sure you have. But basically, whenever we're calorie counting, we will go through this every day. We'll have lunch, and I see a friend of mine used to call in. He was doing Slimming World, and he was losing weight. It was a great first step. But he'd have like a big box of pasta and mayonnaise, like a pasta mayonnaise thing, and this is what he was just going through all day, which is a great first step, but it's not a very good long-term solution, because this, God's sake, stop moving stuff, come on, there we go. This constant up down, spike. This is the blueprint for diabetes. If you carry on with this for a sustained period of time, you're going to get some serious health problems, whether it's pre-diabetes, whether it's insulin resistant or whatever. It's going to cause you problems, okay? So, a big part of what we teach at boot camp and on the Kong Food program is to tame your insulin, to get a control of it, understand the messages that are being sent out by certain food groups and how you can manipulate that to work for you, so that A, you can make smarter food choices, B, you can be less emotional about food choices, because we act on emotion. Very rare do we actually do stuff based on logic, and C, we're controlling fat storage in the body and fat usage, because whilst ever insulin is up here, it's physically impossible for our body to use stored body fat as energy. It's like putting a padlock on the door, to the fat storage cupboard. Okay, we just can't do it. In fact, let me just change my colour of my pen here to like a red. So whenever we've spiked insulin to a sufficient level, it almost puts a padlock on the ability to use body fat and that ability to use body fat will go and go and go and probably last. In fact, it'll probably start to dip about here. So then you might use a bit of body fat here, but then you spike it again and it's locked, it's starting to dip, and you spike it again, it's locked. And this is why you get minimal amount of fat loss from a low calorie diet, because you usually still got a high percentage of carbohydrates in there, you know, especially when you start to look at low fat, low calorie food. Let's say, let me try and clear some of this. I know this is a bit clunky, but you know, I wanted to be able to paint a picture for you. Let's do a little tile thing there. Let's make it massive, and let's make that white. Right. Okay. Let's get rid of this a minute. What's your thoughts at the minute? You know, is this new? Is this just good revision for you? What questions is this throwing up? But obviously we have to eat some green carbs to get the other minerals we need. Yes, you're right, Connor. So what Connor's saying there is, you know, you've got to have some carbohydrates, but the idea is that we choose the right carbohydrates. Okay, so the first step, Bridie, when we're talking about first steps, anything that's a food that's white is usually a starchy carbohydrate, and starchy carbohydrates will send your insulin through the roof. White bread, white rice, white pasta, sugar, flour, or foods made up of all those things. Bananas is another classic. Okay, potatoes, because them starchy carbs, the body will just use them as pretty quick and instant carbohydrates, as pretty instant spikes. So we get these big spikes. Now, a great first step is to start to strip out some of those starchy the white carbs, and we start replacing them with wholemeal rice, wild rice, brown pasta, granary bread. Now, there is other health issues there with regards to grains and all that kind of stuff, but hey, let's get onto that in a few weeks' time. Let's concentrate on our initial goal, which is a bit of weight loss there. All right. So, and remember, the food industry will do sneaky stuff. So it will sell you brown bread, which is just cheap white bread that they've coloured brown. Okay. So you need to get the food which is within your budget, but like the best you can afford, really, because it usually boils down to price. Okay. So what are the best foods on a daily basis, please, to help stabilise insulin? Yeah, we're gonna talk about that, Bryony. Okay. So Connor, you're right. You need to keep some green carbs in there. Of course you do. You know, vegetables, salad. You know, they're all good form of carbs. And the other thing is, if you still eat some of the other starchy carbs, that's fine. But just moderate it. Okay. So one of the first things that I did when I started to lose weight, and I understood this, was if I got a sandwich. Think about it, a meal deal, right? So you get a sandwich, bottle of pop, pack of crisps. The majority of that is carbohydrates, okay? So if I ended up with a meal deal, okay, first of all, I would throw away half the bread, right? So that's half the carbohydrates gone already. I would always go for water, because, you know, water is water. It's not going to have an insulin spiking effect, okay? And crisps, you know, you're kind of struggling with crisps a little bit, okay? But I would definitely ditch half the bread. All right. If I got a jacket potato, I would ditch half the potato. Something with rice, ditch half the rice. And if I was in a restaurant, I'd give away half the chips. Go. You know, give it to someone else, and they'll be like, "What are you doing? I'm like, "I don't want them." You know, get them off your plate. And that was like one of the big first steps that I did, was massively work hard to eliminate white carbohydrates. Okay. So it's a great first step. White sugar, flour, and obviously food that is high in sugar and flour and all these things that I'm talking about. So, for example, a chocolate brownie is brown, of course it is, but we know it's got a lot of sugar, it's got a lot of flour in it and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so that's that. What was I doing with this thing? Okay, let me explain to you. So what kind of questions are you getting here? The best foods, Bryony, we're going to come on to in a minute. Let me just sort of draw this out a little bit. I know this looks nothing like yada yada. Anyway, this is what we've got. This is the mouth. Here's the mouth. Here's the food pipe, down to the stomach, we've got the intestines, and we've got the liver. Okay, so not bloody anatomically correct, but you know, it paints a picture. The reason why we get these instant spikes, very, very quick, very sudden spikes, is because the food itself is pretty basic. When we look at it, sort of its molecular structure, it's pretty basic. There's a few molecules held together by what we call branch chains, okay? And all that happens is when that goes into the mouth and saliva is released, we can start to break these branch chains straight away, and some of these sugar molecules can go straight into the blood, okay? And that happens in some cases in the mouth, all right? So if we have a Mars bar, we can start to process that sugar almost immediately, okay? So if we go back to our 2 lines, you can see, bang, we can get an instant spike from the sugar there, all right? That's what we're kind of trying to avoid. With less refined carbohydrates, the molecules are different. There's more branch chains going on. They're tougher to kind of break down. So when they go into the mouth can't really do a great deal with it. It's got to get passed down into the stomach, through the stomach, goes to the liver, and then the liver's got to process it, and then we can start to release some of the energy from the sugar. Okay, do you get that? So the process of absorption is slower because of the makeup of the food. Okay, because this is so simple, we get this instant spike, ding, 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 ding. All right, and that's why we get the big spike, big drop, big spike, big drop. Okay, so hopefully you're getting that. There must be some way of deleting the whole of this. Does anybody know? Oh, what's that do? That? No, that's just a crop. Anyway, just messing around with it. So, what's your comments with that? I'll get rid of this, and then we'll carry on. Oh God. Oh my word. It's all going wrong. There we go. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so I know that's a lot to kind of get your head around. I've tried to make it as simple as I can. So, diet soda. So if you think about the spike that we get from sugar, carbohydrates, and it's like this, bang, okay? Let's say that's a level 10. Right? It doesn't matter what the number is, but let's say that is a level 10. That's how powerful it is. Some of these artificial sweeteners can be up to 1,000 times more powerful. Bang. 1,000 times more powerful than sugar. So, yes, they're 0 calorie as we know it. However, the signal is so much more powerful. Okay, so let's look at the common scenario is, because we're eating low fat, low sugar, low calorie foods, we tend to eat more. All right, it's just something that happens. So let's say we do the classic of we go for a Big Mac meal, all right, and we think, all right, I'm going to be good. I'm going to have a diet soda. Well, what we've done is the signal to get our body to store excess energy as body fat has just gone through the roof with the diet soda. And yes, it's not bringing any calories with it as we know it, but what it is doing, it's initiating that alarm, telling the body to any excess energy, let's have it and let's store it as body fat. It's also, let's say that you we can get rid of it like that. Let's say that you've got a little piggy bank of body fat, right? That's drawing a little piggy bank of body fat. Let's say that all you do is you decide, right, all I'm going to do today, I'm going to have bloody 4 cans of diet soda, right? Now, so by normal standards, you're not consuming any calories, So you would think, right, okay, what I'm going to do there is I'm just going to burn loads of body fat. That's not the case, because when you have your diet soda, so we've got 4 spikes like this, okay, remember that the spike in insulin will put the padlock on the fat loss. Okay, it'll stop you being able to use the fat that's stored in your body. Remember, this is what we want to get rid of. Whenever we talk about toning up, losing weight, fat loss, weight loss, or whatever, what we're actually talking about, if we're honest, is getting rid of the fat that's stored around our organs and under our skin. So when we've spiked our insulin there, we can't get into the piggy bank, okay? And we've done it again, and we can't get into the piggy. We can't use any energy from here. So what the body will do, it will use any sugar that's going around the blood, any sugar in the liver, and if it runs out of that, what it's going to start doing is breaking down muscle fibers to use that as energy, and it'll start going into a bit of a survival mode, okay? So, and actually we touch very, very little of this, right? So hopefully you kind of getting this idea. This might be a stupid question, but is this where addiction comes in? I think there's as in the highs and lows, Chloe. But I think, because what you're also doing, remember, food is information. And with some of these incredibly sweet foods, we have this massive rush of neurotransmitters that's like pleasure. Same as cocaine. A lot of it, stronger than cocaine. And we get that with a lot of these foods, So we have this addictive cycle going on as well. And then we get this chemical dependence on what we're eating. Anyone that's sort of withdrawn from refined sugar over a period of time, it is horrible. Like, you can really, really struggle. And when everybody goes through a stage of running on sugar to running on fats, and you have that transition, most people go through it sort of midweek at boot camp, they feel rotten, absolutely rotten. So there's lots going on there with regards to the addiction, but then there's habits as well, how we create habits. The rule of the law of habit is that which is immediately rewarded is repeated. So let's say you go out and you have a incredibly sweet meal and you love it, it's instantly rewarded, therefore it is repeated. When you have a bit of celery, not much reward there, is there? There's very little instant reward, therefore it's an effort to repeat it. I can summon that. Right, okay, so let's answer this question and then we're going to move on because we've been on 45 minutes now. So what are the best foods? The best foods, I don't really want to talk about the best foods. What I want you to think about is a balanced meal and a balanced snack, because quite often we will have foods that are swayed either very carbohydrate heavy or very protein heavy. So I want you to learn, and perhaps we'll need to do a couple of sessions on this. I want you to learn how to put a balanced meal together, and the balance will bring about, it will give you all the nutrients that you need, but also allow you to tap into your fat stores and also prevent this insulin from spiking really high, really low. All right, so it allow your body to become a fat burner. So the way that I kind of illustrate this is, imagine that this is the whole of our meal. Okay, that's 100% of our meal. All right, I want you to sort of be thinking. Usually we'd have either a load of carbohydrates like that, yeah, and then have some protein and then a little bit of fat, because we're trying to manage weight and we're trying to cut out our fat. Okay, what we want to do is we want to have, this is just rough, and it might be slightly different for different meals and all that kind of stuff, but basically, maybe this is carbs, all right, and I want you to have, like, I don't know, get your fats right up, and then this is protein. Okay, but this is like non-starchy carbs. So the vegetables that was on about with Connor, you know. So if you're having starchy carbs, then you know it's much less as a ratio. Okay, so and that's kind of the best way to play it. What that means then is you then need to learn what the best forms of carbohydrates are. Okay, and you know, I've given you the first step. Really focus on stripping out some of the white carbohydrates. After that, you can look at any vegetable online, and what you want is stuff that's got the lowest marker on the GI scale, the glycemic index scale. Okay, and anything that's really high GI, you want to start to strip out. Okay, just you know, bit by bit, constantly monitoring your progress and adjusting your diet as you go. Okay, with the fats, then we want to be getting, you know, good sources of fats. Again, we'll probably do more training on this over the next couple of weeks. You know, obviously you can see it's a massive thing to kind of dive into, and then protein. You know, mix up the protein. The best way to describe it, we have literally a rule of thumb at boot camp where we say for non-starchy carbohydrates you want about 2 fists worth in every meal. For a snack you want about 1 fist. Okay, so 2 fists. With protein it's about the size of your palm for a meal. Okay, that's much smaller than most chicken breasts or chicken fillets or something like that. So obviously your palm, so it's relative to your body, not bloody, you know, someone else, not your husband's palm or whatever. For a snack about half, and then fats about the end of your thumb. Okay, maybe it's a little bit more, depending on what you're kind of eating. Okay, now once you start balancing your meals and snacks like that, and that's every time you eat, you're going to start changing your relationship with food. You're going to start changing your body image, and your health is going to take a massive leap forward. All right, so take a second just to sort of digest that, excuse the pun. Okay, and then what questions have we got on the back of that, if any? I think there's only 4 or 5 people on here, so I don't know how many kind of questions we got, but I will monitor this afterwards, and you know, for a couple of days, and kind of see what questions we got. But I know we've gone through a hell of a lot there, and it can be a bit of a mind melt, you know, when you sort of go, hang on a minute, that's just completely shook what I thought I knew about food and all this kind of stuff. So but imagine going to Slimming World and trying to teach everyone this. Like you can't do it, you know, you won't be able to do it. Like there are, not everybody grasps this, not everybody's willing to understand it, and you can't in a small tight-knit group like this. We can teach it, and you know, it's a classic case of teach you how to fish and you look after yourself all your life. So what do we got, if anything? And if you haven't got any questions, we can start to wrap it up, and then maybe, you know, I'll do the office hours every night where you can send me a message if you've got questions, and I'll tackle them as we go along. So if you feel this has been of benefit, then tell me that, and we'll wrap it up as well. With regards to the best foods, Bryony, this is the thing to do it. Okay, so I'm going to reward you guys that have stayed on the longest. If you want to start cleaning out your diet, the best thing you can do is keep a diary of all the food, everything that passes your mouth, food, drink, okay, for a week. If you can't do a week, do 5 days, but do it over the weekend, because that's where the wheels tend to come off. And then send me the list, okay? And then I will help you to massage that food so it's going to give you the results you want. Okay, so I want a rough idea of the quantities, and you know, because I know this is a massive thing. Oh, hang on a minute, loads of questions just come in there. My main struggle is all the information you get about food and knowing what's right and wrong. Just want to lose weight and eat right. I know, Brian, and it is frustrating. I remember when I was trying to lose weight for years and years, and was constantly so frustrated with it, you know, up until the point where, probably like people on this call as well, you know, I was making myself sick. I was so desperate to lose weight that I tried everything, you know, I really had. And and I weren't getting anywhere. Only when I started to understand this did I start to make progress. So, you know, it's one of those things like at the minute you might be waiting for somebody to tell you what you should eat and all this kind of stuff instead of understanding yourself. And the problem with that is a lot of information that we get from so-called experts is completely flawed, right? I'm just going to bring up this. We're just going to do a little thing, right? So I'm going to type in Slimming World here. Oh yeah, hashtag Slimming World. Now this is not like a Slimming World bashing, right? I'm not bashing Slimming World here because, and on a mass scale and as a first step, incredible. But let's just have a look at some of the foods like this here now. Knowing what we know now, this picture, what would be the problem here? Okay, let me talk you through it. All this is good. Tomatoes are quite sweet, so there's probably too many tomatoes. I know this is a barbecue and there's probably a one-off, okay, but sweet corn. The key is in the name there, you know, sweet corn. If you're trying to moderate weight, you don't want to be eating sweet corn because it will spike your insulin. So we've got sweet mayonnaise, and we've got an abundance of protein, which we know spikes insulin. Then we've got abundance of protein, some really cheap shitty cheese, okay, loads of tomato ketchup, which is going to be full of sugar, and then the bread. So when you look at that, you think, oh yeah, there's plenty of colour on there, looks okay. Now you only got to make a couple of changes to this plate, and you've nailed it. Get rid of that, moderate that, ditch your bread, all right, and go easy on the sauce. Probably half your protein, you know, and you're there. You've got a decent meal, okay. So let's see what else we got. This is good. I like this. Let's look at this one. So great first start. All right, 5 sins. This. So Weetabix. We've got milk. Incredibly insulin spiking. Like you wouldn't believe. You know, when you think about what milk is, it is just a growth serum. Okay, because it spikes insulin so quick. All right. Then you've got chocolate, and you've got starchy carbohydrates. So in this bowl, there is, you know, very little there that is going to slow down your insulin. Okay, and this is what kind of winds me up, because people are like, yeah, Slimming World, this is all great, and I'm like, yeah, it might be great, and you might be losing weight. Are you losing body fat? I don't know. And are you lining yourself up for insulin resistance and diabetes? Next one. This is good. This is really good. If we wanted to make this a little bit better, I don't know what kind of sauce it is, but sometimes a lot of sauces are high in sugar. And I don't know if this is potato, but we could maybe strip some of the potato. But this is good. This is I like that. That's kind of the things that I would ask you to do. What are we saying here? Chili con carne. Okay, white rice. Ditch half the white rice. Go for a wild rice, which is going to be much less insulin spiking. And then look at this. So it's only a tablespoon, so not loads. However, 0% fat natural Greek yogurt. In order for us to like a food, humans love three things: fat, sugar, and salt. Add the 3 things together. Think caramel, Ben and Jerry's. We cannot resist it. All right. So if we remove the fat, we must increase either salt or sugar. Otherwise, we won't like it. Yeah, we won't like the taste of it. Now, they've not increased the salt in the Greek yogurt, so they can only increase the sugar. Okay, and so you know this here. Not only is it like you'd be better with the full fat stuff because the ratio is much less insulin spiking. Hopefully you're kind of getting it. Maybe this is a really good way of doing it. Why is it harder to lose the last 3K? Monica, the reason why it's hard to lose the last 3K is the skills that get you out of Egypt are not the skills that you require to get to the promised land. Okay? Now, what I'm saying with that is everything that you've done up to getting to this point now where you've got 3 kilograms to go are not the skills that you're going to need to get that last 3 kilograms off. It's 3 kilograms for you. Some people it's a stone. Other people, it's a couple of pounds or whatever. It seems like you're stuck on this 3 kilograms. Okay? Now, what I would be saying as a coach, I would be saying, well, what are you basing this 3 kilograms on? All right? Because that would tell me a lot of what you should do next. Now, if you turn around to me and say, well, because my goal is whatever, and therefore it's only 3 kilos to go, I would be starting to look at your body composition. And if you've only got 3 kilograms left to go, I think a far better way of you monitoring your progress would be to look at something like a body composition thing. And this is what I mean by, the different steps for you to achieve your goals will change over time. All these people that are running these Slimming World recipes, at some point, if they're going to get this last stone off or this last bit, they've got to do something different because, it's just not going to work. All right. So answer that. What is that 3 kilograms based on? And if you can't answer it straight away, think about it and send it through to me on another time. Okay. Let's go. If you're enjoying this, we'll go again. Right, here we go again. Okay. So we've got some kind of, what is this? This got some. So it's a tuna fish cake with boiled rice. Okay. This is good. This is probably very sweet. All right. Yes, it's a sweet chili sauce. All right. So is there an alternative to that? Maybe could we massively moderate that, okay, and can we half the rice, and what I'd also be looking at doing here, what we got, tuna fish cake. So I would want to be having some kind of olive oil and lemon juice dressing or something to just increase the fats, or a bit of avocado. Nuts wouldn't really work, but what I'm trying to do there is I'm trying to balance this protein with the carbohydrates by adding more fat, because if we add more fat to it, it's going to reduce the effect it's going to have on insulin as well. Okay, so see what you do. Okay, next one, but pretty good like this. Just ditch half the rice or change it to a rice that's less glycemic, as in less insulin spiking, like a wild rice. We've got to process it, so it would be better. Do you even need the rice at all? If you get a load more of this and add a load more vegetables, onions, tomatoes, cucumber, peppers, all sorts of different vegetables, would you even need this rice? What else we got? It's outside, nothing but homemade lemonade. Nothing better. I don't know what's in there, but there will be some kind of artificial sweetener or something. Holy shit balls. Right, now, so this is Slimming World. This is okay, and this is the kind of thing that winds me up. Now, I know that this would be a massive improvement to some people's diet, but let's look at this. Okay, when we're talking about starchy carbs, all that is starchy carbs. You see what I mean? Now, they might think, okay, and I want you to understand that this person, they might be just getting started and they're used to eating massive pizzas, takeaways, huge Chinese, and this is actually moderation for them. And I'm not knocking them for that. But what I'm saying is that, this is what some people believe is like a healthy diet because we're having pasta, and pasta's what athletes eat, and all that. So, all starchy carbs, all carbohydrates, very little protein, very little fats. Okay, so yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare. I wouldn't even I don't often want to wipe a plate clean and start again, but I would want to start afresh with this. So think about like how much insulin spiking would go on if you ate this. and as well as that, how much digestion is outside the body, the majority of it. You could probably chew this a couple of times with your glass of wine that's at the top there, swill it down. So, and this person here has just had surgery, yet there is absolutely zero vitamins and minerals of use in this meal, and when I look through stuff like this, I just want to get hold of these people and drag them into the group and say, right, come on, let's work on this. So, all right, I think they admit in this post that they've been a bit indulgent. All right, so fair enough, we'll give them that. Okay, here again. So, too much protein, a sticky satay sauce, which is going to be quite sweet. You've got all this rice. To sort this out, more veg on the stick, reduce the amount of sauce, ditch half the rice. It's a great first step. All right. What's that? Is that a boiled egg? Cooked on a barbecue well. Huh? I don't know. Oh no, I think that's some kind of yogurt or something. Don't know. Okay, look, we're going to start wrapping up now. If this little bit here, the old Instagram, looking through some of the meals, if you found that a benefit, maybe I could do a session just on that, and run through some meals from that day, talking about what's good, what's not so good, and maybe you could send me pictures of your meals. That's a great way of doing it. If you sent pictures of your meals, I could kind of give you some pointers about how you can improve them. So that's that. Any final questions? I think we've gone over a hell of a lot there. I think we've if you've never sort of been on one of these sessions before, there's probably a lot there that's gone whoa. And I'd want you to just trust the fact that the more time you spend in the Conquer Food group, the more it's going to sink in. And, I don't want anyone to be overwhelmed. If you think I'm going too fast or going too deep or it's not clear, tell me, and because ultimately I just want people to understand what they're doing and to be better, to feel healthy and feel like they're making progress and to know what to do. Once they know what to do, we can then start to work on why you're not fucking doing it, and that's a whole different set of coaching. All right, so I've enjoyed it. It's been good. If you, like I said, let me know. Give me some feedback on whether it was good to go through the meals, what worked well, what didn't work so well. Feedback is the breakfast of champions, and I want to be good at what I do. So I welcome all your feedback. Love to going through, even if it's Slimming World, it is still informative and interesting. Yeah, all right, cool. So we might do that. I'll come up with a little catchy name, and we'll do it every couple of days. And even better, if you want to send your own meals, then we'll do that. So I'm going to end this video now. I'll hang around for another couple of minutes and answer any questions that we get. So if you can, because I know there's a delay and stuff. But until the next time we have a live training, take care and make sure you set yourself out for an amazing week this week. Okay, hopefully you're making progress and therefore feeling motivated. And I'll see you in the next live training. Take care.